Lewis Hamilton led a Ferrari 1-2 in Hungary without producing a lap he considered perfect, and that makes his near 1 second advantage over Mercedes considerably more serious. Hamilton's 1:18.729 put him 0.148 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris was the nearest rival, 0.499 seconds behind, while George Russell finished only fifth, 0.933 seconds off the pace. Nor did Ferrari suddenly discover that speed in FP2. A few hours earlier, Leclerc had topped FP1, set the fastest time in all 3 sectors and beaten Max Verstappen by almost half a second. The initial evidence is clear. The SF26 is working across the entire Hungaroring lap. It is quick under braking, stable through connected changes of direction, and strong during the traction phase. But the situation becomes even more interesting because Ferrari are not yet completely satisfied. Leclerc was still managing movement from the rear of the car, while Hamilton made several corrections during his qualifying simulation. The soft tyres were not always easy to bring into the correct temperature window either. Vasseur confirmed that Ferrari still see room for improvement. The setup is in the right place and the upgrades are working, but we are still a long way from qualifying. That statement explains why Friday's result cannot yet be considered the limit of the SF26. Mercedes understand the threat. Russell said, "What we feared has in some way been confirmed today with Ferrari. They are the ones out in front." However, Antonelli's race pace presented a different picture. The W17 appeared capable of protecting its rear tyres effectively, while Antonelli's 13th place finish was influenced by the absence of a representative flying lap. With race day temperatures expected to reach 32 degrees and wind gusts potentially hitting 44 kilometers per hour, the real question is this: will Ferrari's advantage survive once degradation begins to shape the race? Watch until the end, because Friday's data revealed one weakness Mercedes could still exploit. Subscribe if you want to keep following our technical analysis and the latest developments from Formula One. The most convincing part of Ferrari's Friday was not simply that it occupied first and second place. It was the way the SF26 produced that result across 2 sessions, 2 tyre compounds and several different phases of running. Leclerc had established the first reference point in FP1. His 1:19.075 placed him 0.484 seconds ahead of Verstappen and 0.543 seconds ahead of Hamilton. More importantly, the sector analysis showed that Leclerc was fastest in all 3 parts of the lap. He recorded a rounded best of 27.8 seconds in Sector 1, 28.6 seconds in Sector 2, and 22.6 seconds in Sector 3. That distribution matters. It means Ferrari did not compensate for a major weakness in one part of the circuit by being unusually strong somewhere else. The SF26 was competitive under braking at the start of the lap, through the closely connected corners of the middle sector, and during the traction-sensitive final section. The car arrived with a neutral front-to-rear balance that allowed Leclerc to work close to the limit of the rear axle. He lost the rear at turn 5 and again at the final corner on his fastest FP1 lap, but those moments did not prevent him from applying the throttle decisively through the cornering and traction phases. Ferrari's advantage was therefore not based on a conservative balance that simply made the car easy to drive. The rear was close enough to its limit to help the car rotate, but predictable enough for Leclerc to retain confidence. Hamilton's FP1 was less straightforward. His car displayed more rear instability and appeared to react more aggressively over curbs and surface depressions. He was also using the previous rear wing specification, while Leclerc evaluated the evolved 3-flap version of Ferrari's distinctive Macarena concept. Yet Hamilton still finished third. That offered an early indication of the strength of Ferrari's baseline even before the team refined his setup for FP2. The improvement in the afternoon was immediately visible. The rear instability was much less intrusive and Hamilton appeared more comfortable using the throttle to influence the car's rotation. Both Ferrari drivers started on medium tyres, while the team continued adjusting power unit mappings and refining the setup developed through its simulator work at Maranello. The SF26 was not flawless. There were still traces of oversteer and occasional instability during changes of direction, but Ferrari's problems appeared adjustable rather than fundamental. Onboard comparisons suggested that McLaren, Red Bull and Mercedes were not showing the same overall balance at that stage of the session. That was significant because McLaren had brought an important MCL40 upgrade package and a revised rear wing concept to Budapest. Norris still emerged as Ferrari's closest challenger, but the half-second gap indicated that McLaren had not yet translated its development work into comparable qualifying performance. Ferrari's first soft tyre runs were delayed when Franco Colapinto crashed near turn 14. Once the track returned to green, both Ferrari drivers required additional preparation work to bring the softs into their operating window. Leclerc expressed dissatisfaction with the tyres and completed another preparation lap. Hamilton followed a similar approach. Neither then produced a completely clean qualifying simulation. Leclerc reported that his lap had not been good, despite moving to the top. Hamilton initially remained narrowly behind after making several corrections, but believed another attempt would help him understand the car and recover the time he had left available. That decision produced the fastest lap of Friday. Hamilton's soft tyres already had 6 laps behind them, and his run was complicated by traffic, but he still improved to 1:18.729. It was an important lap because it suggested the SF26 could maintain useful performance beyond the first peak of a new soft tyre. It also strengthened the suggestion that Ferrari had not reached the car's limit. Hamilton had not completed an ideal lap. Leclerc had not been satisfied with his own attempt, and both had encountered difficulties preparing the tyres. Yet only the 2 Ferraris broke the 1:19 barrier. Ferrari's energy strategy also supported the car's strengths. Analysis of Leclerc's FP1 lap identified harvesting before turns 11 and 12. Ferrari appeared willing to sacrifice approximately a tenth and a half during those acceleration phases in order to preserve electrical energy for the slower acceleration zones that followed. That approach makes sense at the Hungaroring, where efficient deployment is not simply about extending electrical assistance along a long straight. Ferrari could instead focus the available energy on corner exits, reinforcing the SF26's traction advantage in the third sector. There is another technical detail that makes Ferrari's pace notable. Both cars are believed to be using an earlier power unit specification that predates the upgrades obtained through the additional development and upgrade opportunities process. That has not been officially confirmed by Ferrari, so it cannot be treated as an established fact, but the reported strategy would be logical within the wider management of Ferrari's engine rotation. The Hungaroring is less dependent on outright power than circuits with longer straights, allowing Ferrari to use an earlier specification without paying the same performance penalty it might face elsewhere. Leclerc's late FP1 stoppage initially created concern in that context. His car suffered what was described as a blackout after entering the pit lane and could not return to the garage under its own power. Ferrari mechanics worked at the rear of the SF26, but no power unit replacement was required. Vasseur described the issue as nothing serious, although he declined to provide a more detailed explanation. Leclerc then completed FP2 without further trouble, indicating that the stoppage had no lasting effect on Ferrari's Friday program. The more important uncertainty now concerns race performance. Ferrari looked strong with more fuel on board, and both cars retained good drivability. Hamilton completed his long run on medium tyres, while Leclerc used the soft compound and began managing degradation after approximately 5 laps. But traffic made direct comparison difficult, particularly for Leclerc. Different tyre compounds, fuel loads, engine settings and run timing also prevent the long-run picture from being interpreted with the same confidence as the qualifying simulations. This is where Antonelli becomes relevant. His 13th place in FP2 looked poor, but he did not complete a representative flying lap. During the race simulations, the Mercedes appeared considerably stronger than its final position suggested. The W17's ability to protect its rear tyres and contain thermal degradation could become crucial on Sunday. Ferrari's single-lap advantage is clear, but Mercedes may be better equipped to maintain consistent performance once the tyres have completed several laps under a heavy fuel load. Russell admitted that Mercedes' baseline pace was not as competitive as it had been at Silverstone and Spa, but he did not consider the situation beyond recovery. The baseline pace of the car this weekend does not seem to be as competitive as we saw at Silverstone and Spa, but I'm confident, Russell said, there's a lot of room for improvement. Russell's own feeling inside the W17 was complicated by the wind. He described gusts of 25 to 30 kilometers per hour and substantial changes in wind direction which affected the balance and increased sliding. The feeling on track is far from ideal, but I'm sure it is the same for everyone, he explained. Those conditions may become more important during the race. Saturday is expected to be sunny with a maximum temperature of 28 degrees and little realistic threat of rain. Sunday should be mainly cloudy but hotter, with the maximum rising to 32 degrees. More significantly, gusts could reach 44 kilometers per hour. Cloud cover could restrict the increase in track temperature, but the higher air temperature will still influence cooling and internal temperatures. The stronger wind could also make the cars less predictable through exposed sections of the lap. Ferrari must therefore decide how far to protect the rear tyres without weakening the rotation that made the SF26 so effective on Friday. Adding understeer might make the car safer over a long stint, but it could also remove some of the quality that allowed Leclerc and Hamilton to attack the middle of the corner and accelerate so effectively. Mercedes faces the opposite problem. It must find enough single-lap performance to prevent Ferrari from controlling the front row while preserving the long-run tyre behaviour that could become its strongest weapon on Sunday. Russell at least reported no repeat of the deployment problem that had affected him between Silverstone and the beginning of the Belgian Grand Prix. But even he cautioned against declaring that weakness completely resolved. Deployment resolved? Yes, to be honest, I didn't even think about it, so it's good that the issue has somehow been resolved, Russell said. In any case, even if the problem had persisted because of the nature of the track here, you probably would not have noticed it anyway. That leaves Ferrari in the strongest position, but not yet a comfortable one. Its advantage over a single lap is supported by sector data, balance and performance on different tyre programs. Its drivers also believe there is more to extract, but Mercedes has shown enough over longer runs to prevent the FP2 order from becoming a reliable forecast of Sunday. Vasseur's warning is therefore more than routine caution. We're not aiming for the best Friday, but the best Sunday. Ferrari has already completed the first part. Converting that speed into the second will require it to manage hotter conditions, stronger wind, and a Mercedes that may become more competitive as the stint develops. So, has Ferrari genuinely built an advantage large enough to control the Hungarian Grand Prix, or will Mercedes expose the one area Friday's timesheet could not measure properly? Tell us which team you believe has the stronger race package, and whether Hamilton can convert this opportunity into victory in the comments below.